Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business once again with a community showdown featuring the Tomb Kings, who shall be led by Flying Taco. Looks like it's going to be SETTRA the Imperishable as well. And today, my friends, he faces off against the Empire, who shall be led by Lupin III, coming in hot with KARL. Now, as far as the Tomb King build goes in the back, it's going to be a bit of a rush, actually, so it looks like it is going to be using triple Ushabti. Now, Ushabti are pretty good against state troops. A lot of times the Empire in this matchup will come in with Flagellants, Sigmar Sons. You'll occasionally be seeing like Spearmen with Shield, so the 90 armor and the bonus for infantry on these guys certainly quite good. Gives the Tomb Kings a relatively durable front line, which they do often lack if they just go with like Skeletons and Tomb Guard and things like that. Granted, Tomb Guard do pretty well for themselves, but they're still lightly armored, so if they're getting hammered by heavy cav and things like that, the Tomb Kings front line can buckle. So it's going to be triple Ushabti. On top of that, Kepra Guard and Skeleton Warriors, a couple spears and shields mixed in there, or swords I should say. That's pretty much it for the front line. On top of that, 2 groups of Skeleton Horsemen Archers. These are a pretty good option for counter-harassing Outriders and or Pistoliers. With 140 range, I believe Outriders are kind of in the same ballpark. They might be 130. I don't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure it's in that ballpark. And if they do go with Pistoliers or Outriders, Skeleton Horsemen Archers can kind of harry them and harass and at least give you some mobile harass. And on top of that, if you are facing off against like handgunners and cannons, it's another piece that can just dive in there and go into the back line. And, you know, they're unbreakable. They're undead. So, hey, they do things. On top of that, 2 groups of the Tomb Scorpions, not groups, they're 2 individual units of the Tomb Scorpions here, which are not bad against Empire. They have a weird hitbox, and that's what's cool about Tomb Scorpions against like handgunners and cannons. If they're kind of like hiding amongst infantry, they're actually really, really tough to snipe. That's oftentimes why you'll see KARL as one of the main picks, because him with Galmaraz is like a heat-seeking AP missile that can really take them out. So it's going to be SETTRA with his magic. He's got Foz protection, plus he does also have the Cursed Blades, the standard kit, and a couple of groups of Skeleton or Nehekar Horsemen, actually. The Tomb Kings is going to be closing out this particular build. Now for the forces of Lupin, I definitely like this army. I've really been having quite a bit of fun using handgunners lately. I feel like they're a very underrated unit. Certainly put out a ton of DPS, so it's going to be a couple handgunners in total. 3 of those bad boys, and of course pretty vulnerable to being dove by Nehekar Horsemen, but with Lore of Light and having Nets of Ammontok, which he did, he certainly has some abilities to protect his units. Front line's going to be Flagellant. Secondary line, he's got some Halberds, which again is a very rare unit. Don't see those guys terribly often. Oftentimes it's just cheap spearmen. A great cannon, a couple of groups of Knights of the Blazing Sun with their magic resist. It certainly doesn't hurt. There is some magic damage on the Tomb King's roster. And up here it is going to be KARL, a Life Wizard. So Franz isn't going to be getting his regrowth, something to note, but nonetheless, Earthblood still isn't bad. And 1 group of Empire Knights. Certainly good builds by both players. I think they're quite solid. This build a little bit unusual, seeing Halberds, but it's still a lot to protect, I guess. Triple handgunner plus a cannon, but I guess he's got nets, so that kind of counterbalances that issue of having to protect a lot. And he's got plenty of heavy cav too, which is really good. Yeah, you know, Empire Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, they really do dominate the mobile game against the Tomb Kings, unless they go Necropolis Knights, but in that case, Necropolis Knights will have trouble against handgunners and cannons, so it's certainly a good thought process here from Lupin. I do like his build. So the battle is underway. The cannon is shooting. It looks like it's going after the Skeleton Horsemen Archers initially, but I think it's actually switched onto the Ushabti here in the back. You can see the Ushabti have taken a little bit of chipping damage. And yes, it is going after the Ushabti, which certainly isn't a bad idea. They're going to be diving right through the front line. I think it's probably better to shoot them than the Tomb Scorpions. I think Tomb Scorpions you just pin down with like Empire Knights or something, and then use KARL with Galmaraz to take those bad boys out. So here you can see the approach is underway. Pretty much all the Tomb King's infantry, with the exception of course of Kepra Guard here, do have silver shields, so against handgunner fire they're quite durable, but Flagellants will cut them to pieces very quickly. 37 weapon strength, really, really solid against the, of course, yeah, the armor is very low at 10, I guess, and the melee defense as well. So the charge is underway. The brave Flagellants of Sigmar getting in their shirts off for Sigmar, and opting to pull back after the charge. I think he did see the double Tomb Scorpion coming in here, and he wants to try and pull the Tomb Scorpions back into Franz, which is a good play. So Franz is coming in pretty hot. Doesn't have too much support, though. I guess there's some Halberds coming in, which is going to be very helpful. And you can see Franz with 1 or 2 attacks there. Ooh, nice cannon fire, followed up by the handgun. And man, brutal damage coming in on those Ushabti and the Tomb Scorpion. Franz in the cannons and Halberds now really stacking in there and doing solid work. So if we take a big old look at the battlefield, it looks like a flanking maneuver is underway here by Flying Taco. Nehekar Horsemen certainly eyeing this very juicy back line. We'll see if he can find a way in there. Now back in the front. Franz certainly able to get the upper hand here as the Ushabti are pretty much crumbled down to almost nothing. Tomb Scorpion still running rampant though, and they will be good against the infantry. They're very, very tough to lock down. But a net is going to be going down as well, so Net of Ammontok keeping those Tomb Scorpions in place. A very, very good play. Lupin is going to be able to pull back here and then just shoot these guys with the handgunners basically. But Taco, ever the champion here, going to be pushing in with his Nehekar Horsemen as well, and is able to get on some of the handgunners. But Franz is very quick to react. Halberds pull back, and it looks like many of the Nehekar Horsemen were intercepted here by the Empire Knights. So, yeah, a little bit of a tough break there. Currently, I would say the Empire is in a very dominant position here in this game. They have been able to hold back the advance of the Tomb Kings for the most part. Granted, on this side, it actually looks like it's gone a little bit better here for the Tomb Kings. The Kepra Guard are, starting to cut through these infantries. Actually, the Imperishable isn't being focused too much, it looks like. Although, right as I say that, a couple cannons rip right into his hide there. And yeah, it's definitely not going bad for the Tomb Kings in this spot. Now back in the center though, it looks like Taco finally was able to find an opening, and this is where the build could potentially fall apart for the Empire. The handgunners, of course, put out a ton of DPS and are very, very good against the constructs, but, you know, they're very, very squishy. Handgunners aren't like zombie deckhand mobs, and that's the thing why Vampire Coast can be so oppressive sometimes, is you have like, you know, 5 or 6 handgun mobs, and like the issue normally is you run in, you break them quick, hey, don't have to deal with them, but with Vampire Coast, they're just like, they take forever to break and crumble down. It's pretty insane. Now, Franz is back here going after the Tomb Scorpions, and just like I was saying, that's Franz's kind of main duty here, right, is to go after the Tomb Scorpions and really polish those guys down, and he's doing a good job, more or less. But, you know, Taco, despite being a little bit behind in the game here, is scrapping really hard and trying to shut down these handgunners. He finally does get some Skeleton Horseman archers up and around this big bend, and he is able to jump them on top of the Great Cannon here. So the Great Cannon isn't going to be shooting. Handgunners are all more or less compromised. And I think if Taco is able to take out the handgunners and really push these guys down, that will pull the balance of power back to, you know, probably more or less the middle. But Franz is going in ham, and he's certainly healthy. He's got Stand Your Ground and Foe Seeker activated, and he is able to jump on SETTRA here, but a good response with the Narrow's Incantation of Protection and a new Shopti Summon. New Shopti Summons are very good in these type of plays because it summons high-mass monsters around Franz. And when the monsters are around Franz, it can pin him in place, keep him from escaping, and then it allows the Tomb Kings time to kind of counterpunch. Franz is very much a, you know, get in there, do his damage, kind of pull out kind of guy. That's what she said, but nonetheless, 56, 43, 490. I mean, not the best defensive stats. He does have 100 armor, though, so I guess he's no slouch. If there was like a regrowth to Overcast, for example, he would be much more happy in these sustained engagements, but as is, Earthblood will have to do the trick. Here in the back, it looks like the Great Cannon is taken out. Handgunners, let's go ahead and look at that situation. So one handgunner running here. The other ones are stuck in combat versus both Ushapti as well as Horsemen. Even though they're Skeleton Horsemen archers, you don't need much to defeat handgunners in melee combat. And the Empire is trying to respond by pulling some Empire Knights out, get those guys kind of back and engaged, and maybe salvage the handgunner situation, but it's looking like the Tomb King should be able to handle that. Now, Franz is trying to escape at this point. The Tomb Scorpion, though it's not an anti-large monster, still has 35 melee attack, right? And really, really good AP value. So Franz does not want to be fighting these two monsters 2v1. Although he might opt to make the engagement since Galmaraz is active. That certainly gives him a lot of stopping power and could allow him to, you know, 1 or 2 shot SETTRA right here with his current life total if he's able to make contact. So Empire did pretty well in the front line. Flagellants, of course, always perform really well in this matchup. 32 kills on one, 117 on the other, and they're still going strong, right? I do think Flagellants are one of the best choices in the front line in the Tomb Kings matchup. They're very, very good. A little bit weak to Skeleton Archers, but for the most part, if they're facing, you know, the spooky units, they're not going to care. The fear isn't an issue, the terror isn't an issue, and it gives your backline more time to kind of shine. So here comes Franz once again, going in for the kill. 1200 HP on your boy SETTRA here, but now he's down to 540, so the 2-shot prediction was accurate here. 321, so without Narrows, he would be totally toast right now. He would actually be KO'd for sure, but it looks like that was able to save him. But, you know, he stabilizes at 4 leadership, so that's going to be a little bit more punch he has left here on the battlefield, and I do like this play here from Taco. Just going back in there, knowing SETTRA isn't going to be here for much longer. Get in, try and get some damage on Franz before all is said and done, and see what you can do, and he did. Got about 400 or 500 damage right there. Really, really not bad at all. Now on the battlefield, if we look, Empire does have a couple Knight units trying to stabilize, but the handgunners are being chased into the Shadow Realm, which is a big issue. Those handgunners, of course, would be super useful for just kind of cleaning up the rest of this Tomb King's army, but, you know, Balance Power is still very Empire favorite. SETTRA's down, Franz is up in the sky, he's surviving. Kepler Guard are still here, though. 38 Kepler Guard will be able to buzzsaw through most of the Empire infantry, and there still are some Skeleton Warriors, and I think some Spears over here as well, but yeah, they're not looking like they're long for this Earth. But, you know, despite the fact that the Tomb Kings are behind here, they're doing a good job chasing off these various units, which, if the Empire were able to rally those handgunners, ooh, man, that would be a punishment for sure. In Double Tomb Scorpions, still a bit of a force to be reckoned with. 1,300 here. It looks like it is going to be 3,200 on this Tomb Scorpion, and some of the Knights of the Blazing Sun and Empire Knights are going to be charging in, trying to muck them up. I don't know if that's going to pay off too well for the Empire, though. Those guys don't have the best AP values, and really they're designed to charge into infantry and like lightly armored targets, so not going to be too great in this particular battle. Now Franz going in once again, going to be going after the Ushapti here. Maybe wants to go after the Tomb Scorpions, because the Tomb Scorpions are probably the only thing left in the battlefield that can kill Franz. I think if the Empire player here, Lupin, is able to finish off the Tomb Scorpions, I think he just, you know, and keep Franz at a reasonable amount of health. Of course, if Franz gets a bunch of damage in the process, like he did just there, it could be a little bit problematic, because those Tomb Scorpions, if you really look around, yes, the Empire's ahead, but most of the stuff they have, I mean, yeah, the halberds, but they're so low and so susceptible to being terror routed at this point. It's going to be a tricky pickle, that's for sure. So Franz is back up at the sky. We do have the Light Wizard down here and the Jade Wizard, 2 heroic characters that both have 200 plus weapon strength, so that certainly can do some work. One of the cannons is broken by the whiplash there of the Tomb Scorpion. Now Franz Daddy is circling overhead, eyeing the situation, perhaps waiting for Galmaraz, and here it comes. So he does land, and does he go after the healthier one or the more beat up one? It looks like he goes after the healthy Tomb Scorpion here, and is able to make contact. A really good lifeblood here by the Empire. Yeah, that's incredibly solid. Franz getting huge damage in here, though. I'm telling you, Franz is such a good answer against constructs. With Galmaraz, I mean, 600 plus weapon strength, great melee attack, and does also have the anti-large bonus. But the Tomb Scorpions are able to give it back. Franz's melee defense does not hold firm despite the stand your ground there. And he's going to have to pull back up in the sky. Now, Kefragard still haven't crumbled yet, which is pretty insane. They've been like negative leadership for like, I feel like 5 minutes. I don't know how they're not down yet. But the remainders of the Flagellants, right as I say that, the last of that group, I was going to, well, maybe they'll get them, but I guess not. Franz does come in for the kill, going after this Tomb Scorpion, but the other one is going to respond very quick and go after the Franz. And he's very, very low, guys. 168, negative 35. He's going to be breaking and running for the hills, and it looks like the Tomb Kings are pulling the Bounce Bar back towards the middle, but it's still certainly Empire favored, as one of the Tomb Scorpions is down for the count. And the Great Cannon crew is trying to get back. I mean, maybe if the Great Cannon crew... Oh, right as I like look at an Empire unit, they just break. But yeah, guys, look at that bounce of power pull back. I mean, that's the power of the late game terror. The Flagellants are still going strong for Sigmar. There's only 8 left. And a lot of it is actually the Kefragard here. The fact that there's 20 of these guys still going and just like cleaning up the Flagellants and these unbreakable units is supremely useful. I mean, just insane here. Yeah, 8 leadership. I don't know how they're stabilizing. I mean, yeah, that's just crazy. And how many Flagellants do we have left here? It looks like there's 3. It looks like there's 2 right there. The Horsemen are now chasing things off, so yeah, that's a really big problem. But Franz is back in business, but he breaks again, but it looks like he might come back one more time. Franz is just kind of, he's on the fence about it. He's like, do I go back to Altdorf and, you know, rally the troops and summon the Elector Counts, or do I come in and fight this Tomb Scorpion? It's a very tough dilemma he's been put in here in this particular battle. Now, Empire Knights do have 13 models going fisticuffs here, but the Skeleton Horsemen Archers, unfortunately for the Empire, are going to be providing some huge buffering. And the Flagellants don't have much left. There's 2 left here, and it looks like the other group has 1. The Kefragard are still here with 11 models, because they regenerate, so the regeneration almost outscales the Crumbling. Crumbling, I believe, is like 10 HP per second. The healing is like 4, so it really heavily negates that. But Franz is coming back, and it looks like for the first time in the game, the Tomb Kings have pulled ahead, which is just insane. I cannot believe it. Of course, I think Franz probably should have gone after the low-health Scorpion instead of trying to take down the big boy to mitigate the damage on the rest of his troops as well. But now he's going to be coming in once again. This is going to be deciding the game, really. I mean, if Franz is able to beat down this Tomb Scorpion quick enough before he breaks, maybe. And his leadership is 32, really a testament to the faith of Sigmar here. -1, 8 leadership, and is he going to get the Tomb Scorpion? It looks like he might. The Tomb Scorpion down to 224, Crumbling -32. Franz does take a big attack, but he's still at 105, so the Tomb Scorpion hasn't hit him yet. But he does shatter. So Franz had broken several times, so now it's basically just these halberds. What an insane game we have here, guys. The halberds are holding. There are 20 left. The Tomb Scorpion does break. Will the halberds hold? No, they actually break, and that is going to be game. Wow. It just came down to that. Like, had the halberds leadership stabilized, they probably would have won that game. What a great match by Flying Taco and Lupin. I felt like the Empire was ahead for most of that game, probably a good 60-70%. But Taco is very tenacious and very, very persistent with chasing units off and picking off whatever low-hanging fruit he could before he went in for the final battle with his Tomb Scorpions. Very well played to both players. That was a super fun match to watch. Lupin played a great game as well. Not too many mistakes. Of course, I think the build is a little bit heavy on things to protect. And the halberds just seem inefficient, honestly. I would probably just cut the halberds and just like cut both halberds, get another Empire Knight or something, and then maybe cut one handgunner, replace with silver bullets. But aside from that, the build's pretty good. I feel like if you're going with light too, like if you're going with Franz, you really want the regrowth. Like a single regrowth would have won that game, right? Like Franz would have just been healed and he would have won the game. But yeah, it's a cool build, certainly in theory. But yeah, it's tricky. That's a lot to protect, a lot of magic kind of spread out, and you're investing in these characters. And I do feel like the halberds are very inefficient. I just haven't had much success with halberds in any matchups because they're so squishy with their armor. I find that they just get run over by monsters and things like that. Pretty good in static engagements versus like, you know, let's say some knights that like sit there and fight them. But, you know, most good players in tournament level won't let that happen. But anyways, I'm sure some of you guys may have had more success with halberds, but I certainly haven't. Anyways, guys, well played to Flying Taco and Lupin III. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this glorious, glorious Tomb King vs. Empire showdown. We'll see you guys back with more content soon. Take care.